right, we're out live. So, Deba, tell me a little bit about you and kind of what got you into the industry. What got you started in real estate?
Crazy story. So before I got into real estate, I was a building principal in Plano ISD, and I loved my job. But I got to the point I had kids, and I really felt like I wasn't being a great mom, and I felt like I was a mom to other kids. And it just so happened, I one summer when I had some downtime, I was in my office and I found a book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it literally was everything I ever thought about real estate or everything I ever thought, but I didn't know how to articulate it. And
Right.
so I immediately just kind of dived into real estate, listening to podcasts, reading more real estate books. While I was still a principal, I did purchase, my husband and I purchased our first rental property. And we were like, oh my gosh, like this makes sense. Like we're making passive income. But the only way to truly jump in fully, we had to find a way for me to continue to make active income while I am pursuing real estate investing. So
Right.
that's what led me into becoming a realtor. So I spent a year while being a principal, getting my real estate license. And then when I got my license, I was kind of already over my job and I've been over my job. I just decided to quit in October and I was like, I'm over it. I'm jumping. Let's
Wow.
do it. Yeah.
That
In
was a big
October of
I'm sure that was a
2019.
big scary jump for you.
It was, and I say that lightly of like I just jumped. I mean, my husband and I, we literally like made out a plan of how we're going to cut back significantly because that's a huge, salary that we wouldn't be continue to have. But we cut back, we saved some money just in case, the bottom fell out with real estate.
Mhm.
And it was well worth it. The scariness, the unknown, every step, you just don't know what's going to happen. But it was kind of like the adrenaline rush every day.
Right. That's awesome. And it's funny. I'm gonna do this real quick. Uh, that book got me into real estate as well. So
Wow. Yeah,
yeah,
it
it's
will do
funny.
it.
It's funny how his book has influenced so many people on in the real estate realm, and it just kind of made me realize, like there's so much more opportunity out there. The 9 to 5 is just not really everyone's cup of tea. So it's really cool that to meet somebody else who's had that same experience. And I guess when you read through the book, like what was the things that you took away from it that really stuck out?
You know what? It was the chart about liabilities and assets. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, like, my husband and I, we met in college. We did everything we were supposed to do, go to school, get a good job, get good benefits. But we still kept coming up short. Like, we weren't able to go on trips that we wanted to. And if we did, we weren't able to, really enjoy it like we really would like to. Or there was just things that we couldn't do. And then once you start having kids, like all that just shuts down if you're a teacher. Like you just don't have it, to
Right.
continue to live a lavish life or even live just a basic life. And when I started doing that chart, I'm thinking, okay, I have some type of asset that I can give back to my kids. I'm looking through that, I'm filling it out. Nothing. I had no assets at the time. And
Wow.
that freaked me out. I really was like, I have nothing to give back to my kids. If something happens, all I have is the life insurance my school gives me, my job gives me, right? But I was like, there needs to be more. I want to be able to put some money up somewhere and it continues to grow and I'm not doing all the work.
Right. So that was really like the game changer for you, was putting it all out on paper and kind of like seeing what is actually there in your asset file. And yeah, I think most Americans, honestly, they don't have a lot of assets. You know,
No,
it's a really big
no.
problem in this country.
It truly is, but I guess I start looking about it. Who's going to teach you about it? We
Right.
go through school. I'm in education, and there was no class or any course that talked to you about assets and liabilities. I went to college. There wasn't a class you had to take about money. You kind of figure it out based on your family, your parents, and just picking it up with who you hang around.
Right. And why do you think that is? Why do you think that the education system doesn't have those things in place? Wouldn't you think that that would be more beneficial to society as a whole? Or do you feel like maybe there's rich people keeping the small people down kind of theory?
I don't know if you want to go in my conspiracy theory because I start thinking about that all the time about every single thing. Because I do think that it's an easy course to have because everyone needs to know about money. But I do think it has to do something with politics. It has to do something with if we don't share a lot, then it's okay. And they'll figure it out along their way. And
Right.
I do think it's not a race thing, it's more of a social economic. Everyone has to fall into these roles. We can't all be rich, we can't all be poor, but
Right.
everyone has to fall into some level. So if I withhold information, it may be better for the overall good, even though it's not.
Yeah. But even as something as simple as teaching kids how to file their taxes when they're older, like I was never taught that. I had to learn on my own or, just learn from mentorship. And it's crazy to me that like all these like alphabetic, what am I trying to say? Algebra, the
Yes,
algebra that we have to learn, like where do I use that in my life? But
right.
I'm always thinking about my taxes. I'm always thinking about,
Always,
so it's just
always.
wild to me that that's not in schools.
It is. And if I hopefully my kids won't listen to this podcast because half the time when they're like, we need help with homework, I'm like, that stuff doesn't matter. But do you know how to talk to people? Do you know how to
Right.
problem solve? Do you know how to be a critical thinker? And if you don't know the answer, do you know how to go find it from someone else? Do you know how to be resourceful? That's
Right.
really the
Right.
bottom line of really becoming successful.
No, I absolutely agree with you there. So tell me a little bit about your team at Fathom Realty. So you're the team lead now. Is that what I heard?
Yes, I am the team lead of the Deborah Douglas Realty team that is powered by Fathom.
On your
This
third year?
on
That
my
is that
third
is
year.
incredible.
Yes, and we're going on year 2. So my first year as a realtor, I did not know what I was doing, but I knew how to talk to people and I knew how to meet them where they were and try to get them to be, homeowners.
Mhm.
And my first year I sold over 40 houses.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. I still don't know how I did that. I was just like, hey, plug and play. The best thing I did was hire someone to help me. I hired a transaction coordinator where I was like, you're great at doing power paperwork. So I can go out and talk to people, which gave me more time to do what I do best is talk to people and encourage them.
Right. So you're a big believer in delegation then. Like put the pieces where they need to go. Don't have one person do all the work, right?
Yes, because that will wear you out and you will get burnt out. And so, with that, because I was getting so many leads, I was like, I probably needed to create a team where I can show them exactly what I did, what my blueprint was, and help them become successful.
Right. Do you feel like that's a problem with agents these days?
I do. A lot of agents that I talk to that have been in the business longer than I have, my first question is to them is, do you have a transaction coordinator? Do you have someone that helps you with the paperwork? And they're like, no, they do a lot on their own. And I'm like, how do you do that? Like, you must be going crazy. And I think a lot of it is, we just don't, we think everyone does it, we do it the best. And so therefore there's no one else that can do it better than them. And just like I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, my husband got me the next year the Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert
Mhm.
Kiyosaki. And
Yep.
that book by far helped me with understanding that I don't want to be an entrepreneur forever. I want to be a business owner. I want to be able to go and travel for an entire month and the business is still flowing without me being physically involved with the day to day. And so that's the book I read before I even became an agent. So I immediately was in the mindset of let me delegate, let me help other people make money that they like to do these things. And then I can truly enjoy what I like to do.
Right. And I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think you're on the right track and you obviously know what you're doing. 40 houses in your first year. That's incredible. So that kind of leads into my next question. So what do you feel like qualifies or what qualities do you believe that make up an effective real estate agent?
You have to be a go getter. You can't wait for someone to tell you what to do. You have to be a problem solver and you have to be able to just go after it. Ask for the business. I literally tell my agents that all the time. Don't expect someone to assume you're an agent and I need to tell them, hey, can you come sell my house? You have to go out and say, hey, you're thinking about selling? I would love to earn your business. How can that happen? Can I come walk the property? You have to be the leader and the expert in that field. I think a lot of agents, and hey, I did this too, but I think a lot of agents still think, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur, but their mindset is a 9 to 5
Right.
and not think
They
like,
clock out at the 6 o'clock hour, and it's like, okay, time to
yes,
shut off my phone.
absolutely. And we have to keep working because it's our business. And if it's your business, there has to be a level of obsession that you really, really want to be successful.
Do you follow Grant Cardone?
I do. Oh my gosh. I finished
Upset,
reading
be
his book.
obsessed or be average, right?
Yes, and 10x, that was what led me to create my team. And my goal with my team is to dominate real estate. I
Yeah,
want to be involved in every aspect that it is to real estate because it's fun and it's cool learning different aspects and ways that you can be successful in real estate.
absolutely. I wrote my goals down this morning. That's what he preaches big time. Just
Yes.
write your goals down before bed and right when you get up in the morning. So
Yes.
you know your targets. Well, cool. So let's say you have a new agent that comes into the office. How do you tell them to create their client base?
The first thing I tell them is make sure they have a presence on social media. Most of my first year clients came from people I did not know because your friends and family, they are happy for you, but they're terrified for let you to be in part of their money situation because they're like, I don't know what she knows, I don't know what she's about, but they're
Yeah,
terrified. They
because
love
you're
you.
new, so they don't
They
know to
do.
trust you or not, right?
Exactly. And they don't know how long are you really going to stick this out? Like, because they see you as different things. And so social media is a big plus. Go to networking events, go to different things where you are able to meet new people because the game, it's really a numbers game in real estate. The more people you meet, the more people that you can learn your spiel, you know who you are, and the more people that will be engaged with you, because you don't need 50,000 people to like you. You just need about one or two that really like you and rock with you. And you show them what great things you're able to do. And they're going to tell the masses. That's it. You just got to have exceptional customer service. If you're wrong, call it out. Hey, I'm wrong, but I'm going to do this. But make sure you give them, roll out that red carpet for the people that are rocking with you in the very beginning, because those are going to be your fan base.
Absolutely, your cheerleaders, so to speak.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, would you consider yourself an extrovert or an introvert?
I'm an introvert. I don't really like talking to people. I know people think I'm crazy when I say that, but I am such an introvert where when I know I'm going to a big function the entire day,
You have to
I'm
like
just,
muster it up.
I do. I have to
Yeah,
do
yeah,
like
me too.
self-talk
I'm the
and get
same way.
myself ready. Yes.
I'm
Yes.
not naturally just like the loud guy in the room.
No.
I have to create it
Yes.
almost every time. But
Yes.
it's still me, but it's just like it doesn't just flow like a river,
No. No, it doesn't. Like I do have to intentionally tell myself, okay, let's go and do this, have that favorite song in my head and let's go.
Right? Awesome. So with the sales that you've done tons of sales. What would you say one of your favorite selling experiences has been?
So, okay, it was actually this year. So this year was the first year that I did a $1 million deal. And actually after that deal, I did like 3 other $1 million deals after that. For the first 2 years, I never thought like I could even do $1 million deal, but I was able to get connected with a great couple, super sweet, and they were looking for a property, not too far from where I live. So I was like, I definitely know this area. I definitely can help you find something. And it was during where the market where we had to put multiple offers and offer above asking and make sure we have, money to do that. And so they were so sweet. But the thing that I loved about them, they were patient and they understood the market and they trusted me wholeheartedly. So what I would say, I think we need to go above and beyond. They wouldn't go back and forth with me. They truly trusted what I knew, my knowledge, and we were able to literally the first offer we put in with this crazy market, we were able to get it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thanks. And
Yeah.
they're super sweet. Even now, anytime I'm driving by their neighborhood, I'll stop by and just say, hey, how's it going? And super sweet family.
Oh, that's great. And those are some of your cheerleaders right there.
Yes, absolutely.
So what would you say your favorite part of working in real estate is?
It's the flexibility. It's the you just never know what your day is going to look like. It's the opportunity to meet different people. And what I love about it the most is encouraging people, because most of the people I may work with is either first time home buyers or someone leveling up from one level of household to another, and they're completely terrified. And I'm the one that's able to hold their hand and walk them through the process, and I don't take that lightly. So I'm there to encourage them, really tap into like how they're feeling, like it's okay to feel this way. We're going to get through it together. So that's what I really love.
Oh, that's awesome. And so what are some questions that you ask to make sure that your needs of your clients are met? So maybe this is a good question for newer agents. What are some questions you dig into when you're trying to find out what their needs are?
My biggest question is I tap into their why. Why now? We've been renting for 5, 10 years. Why do we want to move and buy a house now? And that is whatever they say is what I continue to bring up over and over again when they get scared, when they feel like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, when the lender's calling them for the 10th time for the same documents, and they're just like, I just want to get out of this situation. I
Right.
bring that back up. And then I really tap into, why do we want to live there? Who lives close by? Do you want to be close to family? Where do you work? Because sometimes, we go through like these little rabbit holes of like, they see this house on Zillow and they want to go over here, but it has nothing to do with their initial reason of why they want to buy a house. And it's a totally cross town. So really finding out why they want to move, where they want to move to, and what the reason behind it is. Because, and be a great listener. I listen more than I speak, because I really just want them to feel comfortable with me. And I find something that I can relate with them. Even if it's something like I don't know, I'm going to go home and research it. So the next time I meet them, I'm going to know something to have small talk about.
Right. Absolutely. Well, those are great answers. And this is kind of a deviated question, but so if I were to talk to your parents and ask them what you do, how would they describe it?
Oh my gosh. They probably just say she runs around with her hair, like her hair's on fire. Um, I would say I think they think I just open doors.
Open doors.
Yeah, I just open
Your
doors and say, hey,
clients like,
we're
hey,
gonna buy
here's
this
the
house.
house. Go ahead.
Yeah. I don't
Go
think
ahead
they
and check it
really
out.
know the deep dive of everything I have to do to become that realtor of helping clients.
So, since you had made such a big transition from what you were doing to real estate now, if you could go back to like your 18-year-old self and you can give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Listen to your gut and your heart. Because if I did that when I was 18, I probably wouldn't have spent 16 years in education.
Wow, really?
Yeah. I was too busy trying to check the boxes and, appease people and live the life that people expected me to live. And then when I got to the point like, this sucks and I hate it,
Yeah.
I'm just going to do whatever I want to do and see what happens. That's when I found myself. That's when I found my purpose, and everything else just kind of fell in place. And God
Mhm.
has been so abundant and blessing that I'm like, I just want to give this back to everyone.
That's awesome. So if you were to write a book tomorrow about you and what your story is, what would you name the book? What would your book be about?
It would, okay. It would really be, life's not fair. Get over it.
Wow. I mean, it's very true.
Yeah. And I literally spent most of my, adulthood believing life is fair and getting so upset when things didn't work out in its fairness. And then I got to the point like, it's not about fairness, it's who's ever going to go after it and
Right.
really tap into what they want to do. And I'm trying to teach my kids now. I have a 10-year-old, 5, and a 1-year-old that life's not fair. And no one cares about your feelings. No one cares about that stuff. We just want you to step up and do what you're called to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a powerful message. And maybe you should write a book.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
You can be Robert Kiyosaki on the forward.
That's true.
Yeah,
That would be a blessing. Like that is something that would be phenomenal.
that would be. So what's one thing that you've done in business, like in your 3 years? What's one thing that you didn't expect from this business?
So every time I would close on a deal, I would set money aside to invest. And so when I first became a realtor and left my principal job, I had two rental properties at that time, and it was a duplex. So it was literally the same place. Now I have over 20 rental properties.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And I have flipped multiple houses. Now I teach people how to flip houses. And I think my goal to get into real estate was to make passive income. And now it's to the point where now I'm like, man, now let's look at apartment complexes. Let's look at storage units. So,
Right.
you just never know.
A little bit on the bigger side now, like
Yes.
transactions.
Hmm.
Awesome. So what are some myths that you would say are in the real estate industry? Like maybe realtors coming in and they hear myths that aren't real based in reality. What a couple of those that you think would be based in real estate?
Yeah. It's not a reality show. So
Right.
throw all whatever they put on the reality show, everyone's wearing stilettos and everyone is going to these multi-million dollar homes. No, that's not the deal. Sometimes you're going into houses that they may not put the dog up and now you're being chased by a dog. It
Right.
could be you're going into houses that the tenants or the sellers are still in the home. They're like, oh, we forgot. You just never know what you're going to walk into. Or you're going to a listing appointment or meeting up with a client and they're like an hour late and it took you an hour to get there and now you just have to sit there, and then when they show up you act real nice like you just wasted my entire afternoon, but hey, do you like this house or not? So just knowing that it's a job and it's a hustle, and if you don't do anything you're not going to make any money.
Right. Are you a believer in the give up your 9 to 5 to work 18-hour days? Is that kind of how you see it?
It is kind of how I see it. And I try to tell new agents, you have to have a plan. You can't do this forever. You have to have some type of thing you're working towards. And my thing was, I want to get X amount of rental properties so that I can pick and choose who I want to work with.
Right.
And I don't have to be so, dependent on what am I closing next month.
Right. And so what would you say some of your biggest challenges that you're facing right now and going into 2023?
So it's the slowing down of the market right now with the high interest rates. And what's really interesting is that when interest rates were at its peak, the news and everything were saying how high the interest rates are. Now that the interest rates have kind of declined slightly, you don't hear anything from the news, but people still believe that interest rates are still high. So
Right.
having to really educate them that there are avenues that we can do. We can do a buy down. We can pay down an interest rate. There's different things that we can do to get you where you need to be in the payment that's comfortable. And then when interest rates do go down, because they will, that's just kind of looking at past trends, you refinance. People were refinancing years ago. We still
Mhm.
refinance, but it's kind of like it's foreign to people, or they're like, oh no, I don't want to get into it to refinance. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. You're going to do it anyways.
It's a very new market for a lot of people. And I think it's, it's like you said, a lot of it's about education and just getting them on the right track and the right mindset. So
Yes,
most
absolutely.
definitely. So, I mean, what would you say through your 3 years, what has been like the most important lesson out of your career?
That's a really good question. The
Like if you were
lesson
to do
is,
something else, like if you were forced to go to another position, not saying you will, but what would you take from the real estate world that you would bring into this new profession?
um, give it all you got. Like, don't tiptoe. Just jump all the way in and don't listen to anybody. Just listen to what God is telling you, what you're telling yourself, and like tunnel vision success. And
Mhm.
kind of like Grant Cardone, if you really want to be successful, you got to be obsessed with this. And if you're
Yeah,
not obsessed with real estate, you don't need to be a realtor.
right. I agree with you. And I think, a lot of that obsession can be rolled into reading books on it, listening to podcasts like this one, uh,
Yeah.
you know, talking with the right people. It seems like if somebody had a lunch with you, they could get some really big value out of what you could help them with as far as being an agent.
Yeah. And I mean, I just think that A lot of people get into being a realtor thinking, oh, it'll be fun, it'll be easy. I just gotta, find some people and it'll be easy to build your sphere and build your business.
Right.
Every other day, there's like 4 or 5 new people becoming agents. And the average agents only close like 3 or 4 homes.
Right. Exactly. And, that kind of leads into my next question is if you do have new agents, and I know we kind of touched on this, but what is a piece of advice you would give them? If you had to give them 3 things to send them on their way, what would you say to them as far as getting started out in the career?
Right. The biggest thing I would say is listen to podcasts, invest in yourself, figure out how you're going to grow your business. And the other thing is have a plan. Can't just dive into this and just be like, oh, I'm just going to aimlessly figure it out. You have to have some type of plan because
Yeah.
that's what's going to get you up early in the morning. That's what's going to get you moving when you go through 30 days of cold calling, 30 days of prospecting, and nothing happens. You have to keep going.
Yeah. Do you do cold calling?
I do. I do cold calling. I don't like it, but hey, I feel like that's part of me, doing the grind work of like,
Sure.
this is why I'm being so successful because I do cold calling, I do email blasts, I do direct mail. But I'm really big on social media because that's where you can connect and meet tons of people
It's
without
how we
spending a
found
lot of
each other.
money. That's true. That's exactly how we found each other.
That's right. Yeah, I try to be big on social media too, but yeah, I was I don't know if you know this, but I was a realtor in 2018, so I did the cold calling, email blast, a lot of things like that. So a lot of realtors are scared of cold calling, and a lot of them are afraid to do these different kind of marketing ideas because they feel like they're bothering people. So what would you say to someone who says that? I feel like I'm bothering them.
Yeah, I had an agent on my team that always was terrified to call people because she was afraid of she wasn't going to be able to answer the questions that they asked and feel like, well, I'm just bothering them because I don't like to get people calling me. And I said, well, every time my phone rings, I pick it up because they may be able to bring something to me that I didn't even know that was something I needed, a service. I said, because you're bringing value. What if you're talking to someone that's been a renter for 15 years because they were afraid that they would have to put 20% down? And you're
Yeah.
able to tell them, no, absolutely not. We're going to only do 3.5% down, and you can get down payment assistance. You're not bothering them. You just gave them life. So now they can be homeowners and build their wealth.
Right. And I believe too that, if you're getting these questions from them, how else can you learn? Like you're learning new stuff. You might be challenged and you might not know the answer, but if you go find the answer out and then call them back, then you just learned something and you gave that person value.
Absolutely.
That's a big thing that I never got afraid of making those calls because that just, even if I don't know something, great, I'm going to learn something today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? Because we're the experts in that field, they don't know the answer. They don't know.
Exactly.
They don't know.
Yeah, they don't even know anyways. So that kind of leads on to the next question is who's been your personal mentor throughout this whole process? Or do you have one?
Wow. Well, just this year I do have a mentor, but leading up to it, I think I was just winging it out, thinking of like, what did I need? And maybe this story of when the one of my main reasons I became a realtor is that when we were looking for investment properties, we would have realtors that we would work with. And they just were not making the cut. Like I would say, hey, I want to see this property. I would not hear from them for another 3 or 4 days. Or if I'm like, I want to put an offer in this property, I would have to continue to nudge them to say, hey, can we put an offer in this? And then one of the last properties we put an offer in, that realtor, I I lost over $20,000 because of her ARV being incorrect.
Oh
And I
my
was
gosh.
solely dependent on her ARV. Now, looking back on extreme ownership, I should not have done that, looking back on the situation.
Mhm.
But when you are the consumer, you're looking at a realtor like they are the experts. They know everything about this real estate market. And after that, I was like, I'm done. I'm going to get my real estate license. I don't care if I help anybody, but I'm going to help myself.
Right. Absolutely. And what's one thing about being a realtor that almost no one agree that you believe that no one else agrees about? So do you have a certain way of doing things that maybe other people are telling you, no, that you shouldn't do it that way? Or do you have,
Yes, I think it's the selling the house. If
Mhm.
we are going to go to look at 5 houses, I'm going to sell something about all 5 of those houses to my client. And I'm not just opening doors and just saying, okay, you can aimlessly walk through the house. No, I'm going in and I'm picking out things that they've already told me they liked. And I'm going to point it out
you're
to
going to
them
highlight those
because
things,
I'm going to
right?
highlight those things.
Yeah.
And I talk to my agents all the time, and they're just more like, well, you know, the house is going to sell itself. No, it doesn't, because you're dealing with consumers that one day they'll say they like this, the next day they'll say they don't like it. But you got to be the one to highlight the things that they have mentioned over and over again, and you have to sell it.
Right. Absolutely. So this pretty much ends the podcast, but my final question is, what's the big goals for 2023? What is Deba's 2023 look like?
Yes, I'm actually working on my goals as well right now. So last year our goal was to do 80 transactions. And we are going to be about 2 transactions short, believe it or not. And I am so not happy about it. I'm kind of like,
Oh
should I
man.
sell 2 of my properties so I can make my 80 just to say I met my goal? But 2023, I'm looking at closing 85 transactions. I am looking at really growing my team, not really quantity, but quality, in the level of I can really disseminate and delegate more of my buyers and even talk about some of my listings. I just want to grow, but I want to be intentional with the growth. I don't want a bunch of people that were just there. I really want to have quality.
Right. Well, that's awesome. And it sounds like you're going to hit those goals. You're going to smash them anyways. So
Thank you. Thank you so
yeah.
much for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being on the Winning at Real Estate podcast.